Hello guys and ladies, welcome to our C# variables and types video part 2. So in the first video I explained what a variable is, what a type is, and we gave a few examples. In this video we're going to be going deeper into variables and types, do a few more things with it. At the end of this video, my hope is we're going to write a simple calculator which you can actually use to do simple addition, multiplication, subtraction, and division. So we're going to be using variables in this example. So I'm just going to jump straight into it. So if you're on Windows, I'm going to open my terminal now, but if you're on Windows, you know that what you want to open now is the command prompt or CMD. If you're on Mac, you're opening your terminal too. And the first thing we're going to do here is I just want to increase the size of my terminal here so more people can, the font in my terminal, so more people can see what I'm typing. Let's see, I'm just going to take it up to 14. Okay. So now we're going to create a new project. If you want to use the former project you created, you can just use it. I'm going to confirm that mine is still here, so that is it. ls, I still have my first project, so I can just say cd first project, cd first project. I'll hit enter, and then I can say code and dots to open it with Visual Studio Code, and hit enter to open this project in Visual Studio Code. Alright, so if you feel like you want to continue with this project, feel free to use it, but I will not be using this project or the variables one. I'm just going to create a new project for this exercise. So I'm going to just say cd dot dot. So what cd dot dot dot, it goes back one level. So I'll say cd dot dot, and if you notice, I am no longer in first project. I have gone back to my root folder, and I'm just going to create a new project for this example, right? So the way to create a new project, if you remember, is to say .NET new console. So .NET new console creates a new project, and you have to give it a name. -n means name, and then I'm going to call this project variables 2. So we already have a variables project. If you try to use variables again, it's going to throw an error because we already have a variables project here. So I'm going to say .NET new console -n variables 2. So I'm creating a project called variables 2, and I'll just hit enter and let it run. We see that it says the template console application was created successfully, restore succeeded. So it has created this project, and we're just going to give it some time to load. By the way, I've heard a few people complain that the volume on some of the videos are not as loud. Please understand that I'm using my laptop's mic, and it's kind of a distance from me, so that's why it's low. Let's see how this one turns out, and if it's still low, I'm going to find something to do about it. Anyways, the project has been created successfully, so the next thing to do is to switch to the project folder. Before we do that, let's confirm that it's there. So ls, if you're on Windows, whenever I type ls, you type dir instead. So ls, if you're on Windows, the command you want to type here is dir But since I'm on Linux, I'm going to say ls and hit enter, and we can see that my project folder has been created, variables2. I'm going to switch to this folder, cd variables2, and I'll hit enter. Okay, I typed it wrong, so it's saying, hey, I can't find this folder. What I'm supposed to type is variables, variables2. And now I've switched to variables2. I can now open it with Visual Studio Code by using code and dots. I'm just going to give it a minute to open, and it's open. So we have our program.cs where we always start, have our variables.cs purge. Just going to click program.cs to open up the program. I'll just bump up my font a bit here. I've heard some people. Now, if you open up your project and you do not see your terminal, so if you notice here, I don't have my terminal here. The way to open up your terminal is to hit the control and the backtick key. Control backtick. So control backtick. I don't know if I'm connected to the internet now, but let's see. For those of you that don't know what the backtick key is on your keyboard, I'll see if I can pull it out very quickly. Let's see if there's internet. Okay, we have internet, so let's just Google backtick key on keyboard. So I just want to show you guys what the backtick key is. Then I'll switch to images, and then we can see the very first image. So you can see this highlighted key, the blue key. This is called the backtick key. So whenever you open Visual Studio Code and your terminal is missing, so this is the terminal. Whenever you open Visual Studio Code and this is missing, all you have to do is hold down the control key and the backtick key. Control and backtick key. This works on both Mac, Linux, and Windows. So, and when you want your terminal to disappear, maybe you want to see more of your code, you can just do control backtick and the terminal disappears. Control backtick brings it back. So if you open Visual Studio Code and your terminal is not there, that is all you need to do. Next, I'm just going to increase the size of my font a little more. I increased it before I started the video, but I don't think it's large enough. So I'll just take it up to 17. And that's it. So I think this should be good enough. So what we're going to do in this example is we want to write a simple calculator, right? And if you remember from the last video, we simply want to tell our users, enter the first number, enter the second number. We're going to add those two numbers, and then we're going to print out a result. So very simple, right? Now we're going to start from, if you remember, the way to display text to our users is by typing console.writeLine or console.write. So the difference between console.writeLine, by the way, and console.write is that after console.writeLine, your cursor is taken to the next line. Let me show you. So I'm going to say console.writeLine. Please enter the first number. and then I'm going to put the cursor, and then what I expect here is that my user is going to, so this is going to display to the user, hey user, enter a number. And then I'm going to create a variable. Let's start by creating two variables that will hold our numbers. So I'm going to have the first variable int, because I want to add numbers here, or let's keep it simple for now. Let us save our numbers in strings. So I'm going to say string first number equals this. I'm not going to save anything in the number because I'm expecting my user to give it to me. And then I'll say string second number equals, and then I put this here, and then I tell my user console.writeLine, please enter the first number. And then I can come down here just as we did in this first example and say first number equals console.readLine. So console.readLine is how we read input from the user from the console. And then I'm going to come down here, and instead of using console.writeLine, I'm going to say console.write, and then this time I'm going to say enter. Okay, let's keep it consistent. I used please in the first one, so I'll also say please, because we should all be polite. Please enter the second number. And then I'll put the prompt again. So please enter the second number. And then I'm going to pick out the second number just as we did. So we'll say second number equals console.readLine. So second number equals console.readLine. What this line does by now we should know is that we take the input from the console. And now let us create a third variable. Let's say string results equals, and let's set it to an empty string too. String results equals this. We're going to come down here and we're going to say results equals first number plus second number. So what we're doing is now we're saying, hey, take the value that the end user entered in first number, and take the value that the user entered in second number, and add them together and put the result in our new variable, in our variable called results. Now that being said, I'm going to go and print out the value of result. I'll now say console.readLine. Oh, sorry, we want to display the results to the user, so we say console.writeLine. The answer is, I'm going to do something here which we haven't done before. I'm going to join two strings together. So I'm going to say the answer is, and then I'm going to add a plus. Okay, I think we've actually done this in our first video, probably. I'm going to say the answer is plus results. So what we're doing here is very simple. We're simply saying print out the answer is, which is a string, and then notice that I put it between quotes. The answer is, so our program is going to write out the answer is, then it's going to go into result and say, hey, what is in results? And then when it gets whatever is saved in results, it's going to print it out too. So it's going to say the answer is, if result is 22, it's going to print out 22. If it's 14, it's going to print out 14. So that is what this line here is going to do. Now let's save this program and just run it very quickly. So I'm going to say, as usual, .NET run, or .NET run, and I'll hit enter. It's going to build it and then run it. Okay, and then it says please enter the first number. I'm going to say my first number is 23, and I'll hit enter, and it says please enter the second number. I'm going to say my second number it's a 9. Now I want you guys to look very closely here. If you're watching, look very closely at what is happening here. When it asks for the first number, it took the cursor to the second line. So it says please enter the first number, and then our input was on the second line, not on the same line. What we want when we're collecting this type of input from the user is to have our cursor on the first line here, but the second one put it on exactly where we want it to be, where it should be after our prompt. So why are they different? The difference is in console.writeLine and then console.write. So in the first one, we're saying console.writeLine. What console.writeLine does is after printing this, it's going to take the cursor to the next line, which is what we're doing here. But with console.write, after printing our prompt, it's going to leave our cursor on the first line. Now, when you're displaying prompts that you expect a user to enter information after, you want to use console.write. So I'm going to change it to console.write. I'm going to save it, and then we're going to run our program again. .NET run. It's taking a while to build. Okay, so we see now that our prompt is no longer on the second line as it is here. It is now exactly where we want it to be. This time I'm going to say let my first number be 25. It's going to ask for the second number. I'll select my second number be 25. I'm going to hit enter, and it says my answer is 25. That is wrong, right? We know that 25 plus 25 is 50. So why are we getting 25? I will tell you why. Remember when we talked about variable types? Now, the type of the variable depends on what your computer can do with it. As far as your program knows, 25 is not a number, it is a string, because we created it as a string here. We said string first number, and then we said string second number, and then we added two strings together. It is like saying, hey, Vincent, add Vincent is plus a boy together. So Vincent is one part and a boy is another part, and we're saying add it together. The answer is going to be Vincent is a boy, because we're dealing with strings. So what we want to do here is to change these to integers. So then your computer knows, okay, I am dealing with integers here. 25 is an integer. 25 is an integer too. What I want to do here is an integer addition. So I should add them together as integers, not join them together as strings. When you use a plus between strings, it just joins them together. So it just takes the second one and adds it to the end of the first one. But when you use plus on integers, it's going to add them with an arithmetic addition operation. I need us to understand that. So we're going to change our variable type here and let our computer know that, okay, this is an int. So I'm going to change it from a string to an int. I'm going to change second number, and since I've changed it to an int, you now see there's a red line here. It's saying here you can't, so it says cannot implicitly convert type string to int. So it's saying here you created an int variable, but you're assigning a string to it. When we create an int variable, we assign 0 to it. So we assign, either you assign a number, say 7 or 9, it's going to, or 90, it's going to accept this. But since we want to collect input from the user, we don't know what the user is going to enter. So we're going to say, hey, set it to 0 to start with, or we can even create the variable and set it to nothing. If we set it to nothing, its default value, so when you set it to nothing, the value is going to be 0. If you create an integer variable and you don't give it a value, its value is going to be 0. So I like to set mine to 0 explicitly, even though I know if I don't set it, it's going to be 0. But I like to set it to 0 just to have it there. I'm going to change my second number to an int 2. So I'll say int second number, I'll set it to 0 2. And then I'll change results to an int 2. Because then after doing the sum, I want to save it in an int variable. And then I'll change this to 0 2. Great. Now everything seems to look okay, but if I run this, I'm going to get an error. Just to illustrate, we have red lines here, which already mean there's a problem. But I'm going to try to run it anyways. Maybe I'm going to get lucky and it's going to run. So one way to clear, so first of all, I want to clear the output I have in my console here. The way to clear it, if you're on a Mac, you can use the command clear. If you're on a Mac or on a Linux or some Windows, you can just type clear and hit enter. If you're on a Windows and clear does not work for you, use the command cls and hit enter. So to clear your terminal, either clear or cls is going to clear it. Awesome. Now let's try to run this project again. .NET run. And let's see. Oh, sorry, it's actually running because so it actually ran because we didn't save this. So we didn't save it. It's still working with the previous version. I'm just going to save, and then I'll say .NET run again. And let's see. Okay, so it's now giving us an error. It says here there's an error. I can't convert a string to an int. And then a lot of times your error messages gives you a lot of information. So I see a lot of people saying, oh, I have this error, and sometimes all you need to do is read the error message and it kind of gives you an idea of what the problem is. So then instead of you saying, oh, I have this error, or my code, instead of you saying my code is not running, you're going to say, I have this error, this is the error message, can you help me fix it? So let us read this error message. It is saying, hey, I can't convert a string to an integer, cannot implicitly convert type string to int. So it says, hey, you're trying to convert, you're trying to save, and it's saying that is happening on line 14. And then we can go to our code. That is why our code has lines. So we go to line 14 and say, hey, what's going on line 14? Why are we having an error? And this is the error we have. And then we have an error on line 17 too, and it looks like it's the same error. Let me explain why we're having this error. Now, by default, we use console.readline to read things from the user, right? To read things from the console. Everything that comes back from console.readline is a string. It doesn't matter if you type 25, it doesn't matter if you type 200, it doesn't matter if you type 100. Console.readline is going to send it back to your program as a string. As an example, let us do something here. Let us change int first number to 100. Now we have an error here because now we have quotes. Whenever your program sees quotes around the number, it treats that number as a string. So if you have quotes around the number, that number is treated as a string, and that is why we have an error here. I'm just going to remove this quote, and you see we no longer have an error. So by default, whenever your C# program sees quotes, it's going to say, okay, this is a string, even if it is a number that is between those quotes. I need us to understand that. So it is exactly the same thing that your console.readline does. So for console.readline, even if I type in 100 as the user, it's going to wrap it in quotes and send it back to your program. And then when that number comes back in quotes and you try to save it in an integer, it's going to give you an error and says, hey, what's going on? You're trying to save a string in an integer. So how do we fix this? This brings us to a topic why I actually broke this video into two parts. This goes to the topic of type conversions. Now, in C#, you can convert from one type to another type. I'm not going to go too deep into that because it can get confusing. I'm just going to use an example here. So just follow my code for now. Just trust me, right? Now I'm going to say int dot pass. I'm going to open a bracket here, and then I'm going to come to the back and put a closing bracket. And we see the error is gone from this one. We no longer have an error here. Now what we're saying is, hi program, take that value that is coming back from our user and pass it. Pass means change it. Now if you hover over it, you see it has a message here. It says convert the string representation of a number to its 32-bit signed integer. Now forget about what a 32-bit signed integer is, but know that convert the string representation of a number to its integer equivalent. So let's say if this was quote 100, so it says the string representation, this is a string representation of a number because it has quotes. What I can do here is say int dot pass, and then I'm going to put it in a bracket. So what I'm saying is, hey, take this number that is a string and convert it to an integer. And now we don't have a problem anymore. What it's simply going to do is it's going to look at it. Okay, this is a number, but this number is stored, is represented as a string. I'm just going to take this off. I'm just going to take this off and take this off and give only the number to the variable. And now the variable no longer has a problem. I'm just going to change this to 0. And then that is exactly what we're doing here. We're saying, hey, take whatever the person entered in the console and convert it to a number. And now we can save this thing as a number. We can save that value as a number. So we're going to come do the same thing here. We're simply going to say int dot pass console.readline. So we're saying int.pass console.readline. Like I said, it's going to take whatever we entered here, and then we're going to save it in second number. And now let's try to run our program again. We seem to have all the errors sorted out. Our result is an int. So when we say, since we now have all int, when we say first number plus second number, it is actually going to do an arithmetic addition. So it won't just join them together as string. It's going to add them and get their value and save that value in result. And then we can use that value to display an answer to our user. I'm going to say file, save, and then I'm going to clear my console first, and I'll say .net run. I'll hit enter. And now it says enter your first number. I'm going to use 25 again because I happen to like 25. Enter your second number. I'll say 25 again. I'll hit enter. And now it says the answer is 50, which is what we expected. So the key takeaway I want you to have from this video is how to convert from a string, which our program is going to return. So our program returns a string, our console.read line gives us back a string when a user types a value, and then we're going to convert it to an integer. But what I really want you to understand here is that it is possible to convert from a string to an integer. A lot of times you get values from different places. So maybe a user enters something in the keyboard, or you pull a value from a database and you want to operate on it. You will want to convert it to an integer if you want to get an integer value back when you add it. If you add two strings together, it's going to give you a string. So I really want everyone to have that takeaway from this video. Now the task for this video, oh, by the way, I'm just going to very quickly introduce comments. So comments are lines of text you can leave in your code that tells another programmer what you're trying to do, or it just reminds you later when you come back to your code what you're trying to do. It is not part of your code. Your program is not going to try to execute it. It's just like leaving reminders for yourself in code. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to put a comment on this line. Now the way to put comment in C#, any line that starts with two backstrokes, so two slashes, means this line is a comment. And then I'm going to say this line is a comment. It doesn't affect our program. And then if you run this program, it really doesn't do anything. It doesn't change it. It's just to let you know, okay, this is what we're doing. And an example of where you might use a comment is to come down here, and let's say for right now we're doing something very simple here, but we might as well be doing some very complex calculation here. And then tomorrow, if someone else is to work on our code, we want them to understand what we are doing. So I'm going to put two backslash here and say we are adding the values of first number and second number. Can come to another line and continue your comment, and saving the results in the results variable. So I'm just going to leave a comment here for now. This is so when someone else comes to our code and looks at our code and says, what is going on here? Because we have left them a comment, they don't have to start digging through the code to understand, okay, what really is going on here, right? They can just read our comment and they say, okay, this is what this person is doing here, or this is what this person is trying to do here. Like I said, comments in our code do not affect our code in any way. They're just there for humans to read. I'm going to save this once again, and I'm just going to clear my console, and I'll run the program again, saying .NET run, just to prove that the comments are not going to change the behavior in any way. So first number, this time I'll select my first number with 40, and then I'll select my second number with 20, and then my answer is 60. You see, the fact that I added comments to the code did not change anything. So that brings us to our first task, basically. So what I want you to do, so currently I'm collecting first number, I'm collecting second number. What I want you guys to do here is to collect three numbers and multiply those three numbers together and display the results of the multiplication. I'm simply going to leave comments here for how you might do it. So I'll say task. So collect three integers from the user and multiply them. Spelled collect wrong here. Collect three integers from the user and multiply them. Then display result. So for this task, I want you to create a new project called multiplication. So what I expect you to do here is to create a new project called multiplication. Create a new project called multiplication. Collect 3 integers from the user. Here we're collecting 2. So collect 3 integers from the users, multiply them, and then display the results to the user just as we're doing here. So that is the first task. The second task. So the second task is to collect 2 integers from the user and subtract them. Then display results. Create a project called division. So for your second task, I want you to create a project called division. Collect 2 integers from the users and say first integer minus second integer basically, and then display the results to the user. That is the second task. Then for the third task, collect, I forgot my comments, collect 2 integers from the user and divide them. Then display results. Create a project called sorry, I made a mistake here. This project should be called subtraction, and this project should be called division. So what I want you to do here is to create a project, name it division, collect 2 integers from the user and divide them. So you can say first number divided by second number, and then display the results out to the user. And I'm just going to add the command for creating a new project here. So .NET new console n multiplication. So for example, to create a multiplication project, you say .NET new console n multiplication. You type that into your console or your command lines. I'm giving you an expo here. So this is a task I expect you to do. I'm going to post this task on Slack again, but that's it basically. We've come to the end of our example for today. I hope you understand it. If you don't understand, you can always reach me on Slack, leave questions on the channel under the video, and I really hope you get this. So this brings us to the end of our variables and types lecture, and from the next video we're going to go to conditional operators. We're going to have to start moving fast because we don't have a lot of time. Thank you.